When teachers are working together, they can do powerful things to improve their own teaching and in turn improve students' learning. Welcome to this day's presentation entitled Gearing Up for the Future Curriculum Reforms. In today's lesson, we're going to tackle about the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, which is an act enhancing the Philippine basic education system by strengthening its curriculum and increasing the number of years for basic education, appropriating funds, therefore and for other purposes. This module brings you to some curricular development reforms and enhancement. As the Philippine education braces itself with the ASEAN and the rest of the world, there is a need to embark on enhancement and reforms in the curriculum. As a curriculum knower, designer, implementer, and evaluator, substantial knowledge of some of these reforms is necessary. For our desired learning outcomes, it is to gain comprehensive understanding of the K-12 basic education curriculum reform. It is known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. A. Republic Act 10053. B. Republic Act 10553. C. Republic Act 10533. Or D. Republic Act 11053. Correct answer is C. Republic Act of 10533. It is the latest educational reform in Philippine education, popularly known as K-12, that includes 1 year of kindergarten education, 6 years of elementary education, and 6 years of secondary education. These 6-year secondary education includes 4 years of junior high school and 2 years of senior high school. With K-12, the existing 10 years of basic education is increased to 12 years with kindergarten education as prerequisite to entry in grade 1. When was the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013 signed into law by President Benigno Aquino III? A. May 15, 2013. B. May 16, 2013. C. June 16, 2013. Or letter D. June 15, 2013. The correct answer is letter A, May 15, 2013. This was signed in order to at par with the international standards by enhancing the Philippine basic education system to strengthen the curriculum and increasing the number of years for basic education that the government sees to give better opportunities for everybody. A 12-year basic education graduates, thereby contributing to a better education society, is capable of the following except A. Productive employment. B. Working abroad. C. Entrepreneurship. Or D. Higher education studies. Correct answer is letter B. Working abroad. K-12 makes the Philippine education system at par with the international standard of 12-year basic education, and graduates are expected to be equipped with 21st century skills to be ready for an employment, entrepreneurship, and their higher education studies. The recommendation to improve and to lengthen the short basic education in the Philippines has been given since A. 1999, B. 2013, C. 1927, letter D. 1925. Correct answer is letter D, 1925. The result of Monroe's survey that a secondary education did not prepare for life. The results of the survey reported the following. The public school system that is highly centralized in administration needs to be humanized and be less mechanical. Textbook and materials needs to be adapted to Philippine life. The secondary education did not prepare for life and recommended training in agriculture, commerce, and industry. The standards of the University of the Philippines were high and should be maintained by freeing the university from political interference. Higher education could be concentrated in Manila. English as medium of instruction was best. The use of local dialect in teaching character education was suggested. Almost all teachers were not professionally trained for teaching. Lastly, private schools except under the religious groups were found to be unsatisfactory. Nonetheless, the result recommended training in agriculture and commerce and industry. What are the existing realities in the Philippine education that became the basis of the K-12 implementation? Statement 1 says to make Philippine education system at par with the international standard of 12-year basic education. Statement 2, insufficient mastery of basic competencies due to congested curriculum. Statement 3, the Philippines is the only remaining country in Asia with a 10-year basic education program. And Statement 4, to level up the curriculum. The choices are the following. A. Statement 1, 2, and 3. B. Statement 1 and 2. C. Statement 2 and 3. Or letter D. Statements 1, 2, 3, and 4. The correct answer is letter C. Statements 2 and 3. The Department of Education pushed for the K-12 implementation and considered these existing realities in the Philippine education that became the basis of the implementation. Insufficient mastery of the basic competencies due to congested curriculum. The basis were the National Achievement Test results of 4-year students in mathematics and science. Majority of the high school students belonged to the low mastery level. The 10 years would not be enough to master the competencies. Adding 2 years would make possible the decongestion of the curriculum for comprehensive acquisition of basic competencies in the 21st century skills. The Philippines is the only remaining country in Asia with a 10-year basic education program, in which the Philippines is the only country that has a 10-year basic education program. Graduates are not automatically recognized as professionals outside the country due to the lack of 2 years in basic education. UNESCO Mission Survey in 1949 recommended that A. Revise the primary school system by adding 1 year, which is grade 7. B. Restore grade 7 in primary education. C. Lengthen the educational cycle by adding 2 years to formal basic education, 1 each year for primary and high school. Or D. Secondary education did not prepare for life and recommended training in agriculture, commerce, and industry. The correct answer is letter B, restore grade 7 in primary education. Primary school levels range from grades 1 to 7. Primary education provides students with fundamental skills that will be the foundation for the rest of their academic careers. EDCOM report in 1991 recommended that A. To prioritize students' learning through curricular reforms, the provisions of textbooks, and the use of vernacular in lower primary grades, and the institution of a longer basic education cycle. B. Retain the 10-year basic education phase while the institutionalizing career counseling in primary and secondary schools in preparation for higher education. C. Revise the primary school system by adding 1 year, which is grade 7. Letter D. Extend secondary education by 1 year to better prepare students who have no plans to take up university education. The correct answer is letter B, to retain the 10-year basic education phase while institutionalizing career counseling in primary and secondary schools in preparation for higher education. This is to help students focus on their career path, to educate them and how to prepare themselves in attaining their career choice. Career counseling can help point people in the right direction that they will excel and be happy with, and can lead to a greater sense of accomplishment. The Presidential Task Force on Education in 2008 also recommended that A. To extend pre-university education to a total of 12 years, benchmarking the content of the 11th and 12th years with international programs. B. Implement a compulsory 1-year pre-baccalaureate stage as prerequisite for students interested in enrolling in higher education degree programs. C. Retain the 10-year basic education phase while institutionalizing career counseling in primary and secondary schools in preparation for higher education. Letter D. Revise the primary school system by adding 1 year, which is grade 7. The correct answer is letter A. Extend pre-university education to a total of 12 years, benchmarking the content of the 11th and 12th years with international programs. Upon entering the higher education, an additional 2-year must be met and suffice the students with the international programs in order for the curriculum to at par with the international standards. They have seen these additional years as meeting the competency and producing the graduates capable of whatever exits. The K-12 curriculum, grade 10 and grade 12, student is supposed to have obtained a national certificate for A. Higher education, B. Entrepreneurship, C. Employment, or letter D. Working abroad. The correct answer for the previous question is letter C. Employment. This is because everybody is not expected to pursue college or has the capital to start a business. These national certificates shall be their edge in employment and to look for a good source of income. The K-12 curriculum shall be A. Teacher-centered, B. Learner-centered, C. Curriculum-centered, or letter D. Career-centered. The K-12 curriculum shall be learner-centered. That makes letter B the correct answer. Stipulated in Section 5 of the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, students learning in a learner-centered curriculum takes each individual's needs, interests, and goals into consideration. It acknowledges that students are not uniform and to adjust to those students' needs. Learner-centered curriculum design is meant to empower learners and allow them to shape their education through choices. And that concludes Lesson 1, the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. Thank you very much.